Hey, it is a special edition of this game.
Yep.
So when we initially recorded this, something stupid happened, and my audio cut out. So rather than comment on the moment, we are commenting on it after the fact as it plays for us.
That we are. And after Char's actually already beaten Bloodstained, so you've got that to look forward to soon.
I was not sure if you wanted to mention that or not.
We talk about that kind of stuff enough anyway.
Yeah, fair enough. So I have since completed Bloodstained for the LP, and then I replayed it on hard and completed that, and now I am replaying it on Nightmare, and
amazing.
Because I am a masochist, I am perfecting every boss. I am getting the boss medallion for every boss. I don't know why I'm doing it.
Except Zangetsu.
Yeah, Zangetsu, he wasn't worth it. I was getting too frustrated, but every other boss since him and the first boss I've got.
Yeah. Anyway, neat hat.
Say what?
Neat hat.
It's a hat, yes. One of the things that I tried to stray away from, the directional that I'm using here, True Arrow, I used it a lot. In fact, I used it almost exclusively.
Yep.
And when I replayed hard, I wanted to be sure not to do that. Because it felt boring to just use the same thing. But then replaying it again on Nightmare, the problem is True Arrow is an incredibly good directional shard. It's not elemental.
Yeah.
It's non-elemental, hits several times. You can see how good it is. Piercing damage, so anything that flies just dies.
I mean, that kind of makes sense. I mean, it feels like hard is sort of the mode to just try things out, but Nightmare, you don't want to do something like that.
Well,
you want to give yourself the best chance you've got.
On hard, I ended up relying almost as heavily on, it's a directional shard you get from the Alchemy, there's fucking poison again. Every goddamn time with poisoning. I ended up relying just as hard on another directional shard, Bloodstained Blast, which is funny for several reasons. I just can't escape Bloodstained in any capacity. I think I just shot into nothing twice there, because I heard her shoot and nothing happened, but her mana went down.
I was wondering if maybe the sand caught it or something like that.
I don't really know. I haven't seen much of that happening.
Yeah.
Resistance.
I'm not really sure. Haha. I'm not really sure about how much, environmental stuff does interfere with the shard abilities, if at all. Obviously walls would, but beyond that.
Even then, walls don't necessarily interfere with it that much.
Yeah.
Honestly, with Bloodstained Blast, part of it is that it can actually shoot through walls so long as the area you're trying to shoot with it is clear. Which, would make a lot more sense if I could show you. Do you remember... Do you remember Dimension Shift, the shard that I got near the end?
I think so, yeah.
It's almost an identical reticle for that, where you can shoot it through a wall, and it'll blast the other side of the wall.
No, I can definitely see that coming in handy. Probably more for bigger rooms like this, or the more maze-like ones. We do have to kind of go around.
A little bit. One of the funny things about Bloodstained Blast is, I don't know if it's a glitch in the game or what, but when you hit an enemy with it, they get stunned for a second.
Oh.
Not like a legitimate stun, but they just kind of stop and have to contemplate, did they just hit me with that? Did they really just shoot me with Bloodstained Blast?
Oh, well, we're about to have a pretty nice boss coming up.
We're about to have a pretty interesting boss.
Yeah.
I remember our reactions to this point were basically just who could this be?
Yeah.
What
and I still really love those three-dimensional rooms.
They're good rooms. They're good rooms, Brent.
It's a nice touch for a game like this.
I don't know what the hell I'm doing here.
You were trying to see if you could break through there, I think. I think I was asking if you could. And you were showing me that no, I was silly. Plus, sometimes you need to do a little dance.
Sometimes I've been known to dance in this game.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna shut up for a second and let them talk.
Miriam, what are you doing here?
I ought to ask you the same.
I commanded you to leave this place.
I cannot. I gave Jeeble my word, and I intend to keep it.
Very well. This sigil was not meant for you, but we are far enough from the castle that it can contain you here. Goodbye, Miriam.
And Alchemy Boss. I still really love the concept behind this. Just an alchemy-based boss like this is really neat.
I decided to dance on his head for a second. They do a really good job of making him seem kind of... like, just the way he's moving around makes him seem really doddering.
Yeah. Like, you can tell the age compared to other bosses.
You can tell he's very old. And...
yeah.
Maybe doesn't necessarily want to be doing this.
Yeah. Which there's also kind of a sense of from the dialogue, too.
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah.
I mean, we don't find out what he's trying to do here for a while still.
Yeah, yeah.
On hard, I nearly died to him, actually.
Nice.
Yeah,
I'm not... on hard... Oh, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was gonna say, so on hard, is it just that bosses do more damage and have more health, or do they have different abilities as well?
If I understand properly, some of the bosses have new abilities, but I could not confirm that. Oh, hey, he's dead.
Yeah,
no, a lot of them seem the same to me, but until I was playing on Nightmare, I haven't didn't make a habit of studying the bosses super hard.
To make it happen.
Yeah.
I have waited too long for this chance. Our last chance.
I don't know if you've noticed, but he's got several layers of like clothes going on. And
I didn't notice that, but now that you pointed out, yeah.
Well, the interesting thing is the bottom layer of it has the rose motif.
Oh.
Like Miriam and Jeeble.
Yeah. Neat. No, I didn't notice that. That's cool.
So I want to point out that even after that boss fight against a major lore character, and the ability to have gone underwater given from this shard, you still maintained this area is probably entirely optional.
And honestly, in hindsight, I still think it might be.
You still think it might be?
During this recording, I gave in and said, okay, after that, it's probably not. But having finished the LP, and knowing some of the story stuff that we know now, I'm a little bit wondering if it would be possible to just skip it.
It's not. I can assure you it is not.
Did you try?
This area is mandatory.
Okay.
Unlike the Castlevania that you played, I don't know if Symphony of the Night had any optional areas, but we definitely hit some optional stuff in Aria. There's no optional content in this game. If you want the true ending, you have to do everything.
Does that count like the side areas, like the 8-bit area and stuff like that?
Oh, 8-bit area, yeah, that's fair.
Okay. Yeah, and I know that Symphony did have, it did have at least one optional boss. It had that really
the guy that you took 3.5 hours to kill.
Yep. But I got him, which I didn't expect myself to be able to do.
You did get him.
I can't remember if I bothered editing it down or if I made all the other viewers suffer.
I don't remember. As far as I'm concerned, I saw that fight once. I don't need to see it again.
Yeah.
I actually feel like
we watch our own stuff.
I mean, I actually do watch my LPs because you do content quality assurance.
Yeah.
See, I do want to also note that I haven't just beaten the game several times over at this point. I have actually 100%ed the game.
Yep.
All shards,
and you were saying,
all
I think
items.
that this is one of the only games that you've actually gone back and done that for.
This is the first game I've ever specifically 100%ed.
Oh, the first game. Okay.
Well, I mean, since
Nice.
since achievements came out to track that sort of thing.
Right, yeah.
I've definitely 100%ed like Final Fantasy VI and Chrono Trigger. Games that, you
Yeah.
could 100%, but you didn't have a little emblem saying, "Hey, I fully completed this game."
Yeah. So for 6, does that count getting every rage?
No,
Okay.
because
I've never bothered to do that either.
Fuck Gao. Gao is a terrible character and should have been ejected from the roster.
This is completely off topic from Bloodstained, but I found out while reading about stuff just to try 100%ing it every now and then, Gao can be a monster in fights.
He can, but the fact that you can't control him is incredibly difficult.
Yeah, you really need to keep that into account. But some of the stuff he gets from rages is just insane. And I didn't realize until afterwards that he also gets status effects from the rages as well. Sometimes negative, but sometimes positive.
Yes. He can also get Leo's shock.
Yes.
So anyway...
Speaking of Final Fantasy...
Oh, I think I missed that MP up on my Nightmare playthrough. I'll have to remember that for later.
Yep. But speaking of Final Fantasy, we've been doing a lot of Bloodstained play lately. Not a lot of Final Fantasy VII play, but I am looking forward to getting back to it. But I do want to do the first episode of Hollow Knight first, because I am also really looking forward to that.
Hollow Knight is... Like, I wouldn't say that we didn't get requests for Bloodstained. Bloodstained was gifted to me specifically for playing on this LP. But Hollow Knight is the one we have gotten an actual specific number of requests for.
Yeah.
I have also been told by the person who gave it to me, I am to play it blind. So, sorry.
That'll be fun.
My deepest apologies.
I mean, we played Bloodstained sort of... Well, you played Bloodstained sort of blind. I played the Castlevania games almost entirely blind, so... But I have heard that Hollow Knight is a bit difficult.
I've heard Hollow Knight is much
goes.
harder than these games. Hollow Knight is basically a Dark Souls Metroidvania.
Yep.
I also want to point out...
That'll be fun for both of us.
I don't know what you mean by mostly blind, or sort of blind.
Well, I mean, you did check the wiki every now and then, didn't you?
I mean, I checked the wiki for you on, Symphony.
No, you did. I was talking about Blood... I thought you were talking about Bloodstained.
Yeah. For Bloodstained, I did check the wiki just to check, like, where stuff dropped that I needed to enhance shards and stuff, but, like, I certainly never knew what I was or where I was going or what I was doing.
That's fair, yeah.
As I'm sure somebody in the comments will love to attest.
Hello, Zen.
Hello, Zen. Love you, buddy.
But yeah, that's pretty much all that I did for Symphony 2. So I wasn't sure if you checked like map stuff and whatnot.
No, never checked the map.
Okay.
That's why. But I remember after we get. Actually, it hasn't happened yet. There is a point in which it is incredibly unclear what you should be doing in this game, and one of my friends flat out tells me to save us hours and hours and hours of looking for it. Because there is no hint that it is there otherwise, and it is 100% essential. You cannot complete the game without hitting this random thing.
It is more obscure than the thing you need to do to get to the true ending in Aria, by far.
Aria is at least, like, kind of hinted.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. But even with those hints, it was still... I don't think I would have figured it out if we hadn't looked it up. But absolutely not for the thing in Bloodstained.
So you still think this area
And
is
frog.
optional? That's the fucking frogs. Frogs are the worst. Every flavor of frog in this game just upsetting.
Have you been killed yet in Nightmare by a frog?
Nope.
Nice.
I refuse. I refuse to have that fate befall me.
That is probably a good choice.
I don't know what that was.
So, bosses aside, from your experience in Nightmare so far, what would you say are the actual hardest normal mobs?
The hardest normal mobs, quite honestly, this is the kind of game where your power scales so well that the early mobs are the hard ones.
That makes sense. Yeah, I could definitely see that, because you have not only do you not have much in the way of shards yet, you don't really have any options for movement either at that point.
Yeah,
so.
You have very little options. A Nightmare, one of the hardest things is the Dullahammer. The Dullahammer. The Dullahammer, before you get off the ship, because you are so weak at that point, is just he's a bad time. I don't think I mentioned to you, but one of the things that does change in the difficulties, the higher difficulties, is Dullahammer heads and maledictions, which are the petrifying ones, are way more common. You start seeing them all over the place. And
interesting.
They have caused me to die in several areas.
Doesn't surprise me.
Do you remember the area in the library where you thought that I would need the laser to get across, and then I just kind of do tiny little hops?
Yep.
They are in that room.
Oof.
Yeah, and I died to them twice because I got petrified by them at a terrible moment.
Yeah. And the petrifying ones.
Speaking of petrified,
but the petrifying ones I remember barely seeing in
yeah,
this,
you don't see a lot of them
difficulty.
in the normal game.
Yeah. Like I think maybe one room.
Probably more than that, but not too much more than that.
Yeah. And I guess in hindsight, even the Dullhammer heads, like they're definitely more common, but still not really like Castlevania levels. It felt like.
I would say about the same. I was using Skull Necklace at this point. What was wrong with me?
Can you really judge your past self?
Yes, I can. Terrible equipment choices.
Calling her out.
It was, Nightmare is where you really have to start, like, kind of focusing on what you want to do, instead of just sort of messing around and seeing what works.
Yeah. Makes sense.
But it's also the sort of thing... Oh, talking.
That's Dominique.
Yep.
And Alfred?
This was your proposal, Exorcist? Explain yourself.
I should have been there. But you broke your word as well when you laid that trap for me.
I wasn't about to allow the book to fall into your hands.
Why would I want it?
Revenge, perhaps? For your...
Someone has been putting ideas in your head.
Miriam.
Huh?
Miriam just keeps showing up at the worst times for Dominique.
No, wait!
Yeah.
Just the absolute worst times.
Yeah.
I would have preferred you not see that. So the trap Alfred laid was for you?
But yeah, I was pretty suspicious at this point that this wasn't actually Dominique, between the zone and this whole situation.
Deal with it. He has the power to stop Alfred from teleporting. I thought he might.
This is also where we started to make fun of Zangetsu's wild, just variety of abilities.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
Just at any point,
About your parents?
he can do whatever the plot requires him.
Yeah.
That said, I do need to go through and play the games again on Zangetsu mode, because I've heard Zangetsu mode is just harder.
Nice.
The lack of shards really bites you.
Yeah, yeah.
They were killed in battle.
That said, he can switch elements fairly easily. Like, I'd say way more easily than Miriam can, so...
Mm-hmm.
I'm so sorry.
Plus, like you were saying, he's got so much crazy stuff.
He's got a lot of crazy shit.
I let go of the hatred years ago.
I think I mentioned, I have a Zangetsu save that I messed around with very early on, like maybe the end of episode 2 or 3.
Mm-hmm.
And,
I'll help you.
I got to the Garden of Silence, and the optional boss room was open, so I decided to pop in and see what was up, and I died immediately.
Nice.
Like, I got one shot by the boss.
Nice. Don't remember what stats you were looking here, but that jump kick streak is still impressive.
Nah. I think I was,
even better
for
now?
some reason, looking at blood volume.
Ah.
I don't remember for sure, and without the audio, we'll never know.
We'll never know.
Not even once.
I do still technically have my audio, but I don't care enough to go check.
Does anyone really care about your audio, though?
Yeah, not really. I know why folks show up to these.
I mean, the channel basically didn't exist before I came along. It's not like you did a handful of LPs without me. You monster.
A handful. I'm really hoping to get back to stuff with Roxy Namby soon, but schedule stuff is just... you know how things can go.
I do know how things can go. Teleport room. Have to make sure it's active. That's probably exactly how I said it at the time.
Yep. Pretty sure.
I will say, in Nightmare, the elementals are fun to see, just because every passive skill shard is nice.
Yeah. Oh.
I'm not reading this. You can pause the video and read it yourself, I don't care. I read it once.
Well, it's going to be on screen for long enough. They don't even have to pause. I still do not understand the fake dates. I don't get why they didn't just put dates.
I mean,
they put years, so...
Let's see, that would be... I don't know what that would be, actually.
Yeah, it's not even Roman numerals.
No,
That's what I was thinking at first, too, but... Well, they are, yeah, but there was a K and an O on the other one. And XD, I think, would be... Actually, I don't think XD is how you write it, but I think that would be 490.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know how to read Roman numerals well enough.
I barely remember.
Be on, like, 10.
Yeah.
Yeah, here's the mirror match.
Yep, the obligatory fight against yourself.
The interesting thing here is she uses mostly weapon skills.
That is something that I noticed while I was going through this to put together the video file. And it is kind of it's a neat contrast, because you really did not overall, honestly.
It's because they're not very good. No, compared to Shard's, weapon skills just aren't good.
Yeah. I do still think it would be neat if the game somehow picked up on what kind of stuff you were doing, like even if it was just counting how many times you use different shards, and did stuff in this boss fight based on that.
Well, the mirror match in Dawn of Sorrow, as I've mentioned a few times, it'll just reflect the last shard that you used on it back.
Yeah, yep.
Which is how you get into amazing situations where you and the boss are just throwing cats at each other. It's one of my favorite boss fights.
Or where the boss kills you with ground plants.
That wasn't me, that was another LPer.
I could not remember if it was you, or one of your family members, or someone else entirely.
No, it was an LP that I watched.
Still hilarious.
Yeah, it was have you heard of, it's a YouTube show, I guess, called, Soft Lockpicking?
Oh yeah, I've
yeah,
heard of it.
it's that guy.
Oh, cool. Yeah, I've seen one of his normal LPs, too. Honestly, I usually don't watch them because his episodes are usually like 3 hours long, so...
Yeah, they're pretty long. I think he just does them in one big chunk.
Yeah.
I still don't understand why Miriam poses like that when you hit up. Well, anyway...
showing off, I guess.
Well, yeah. It also is weird when she's on an elevator.
Yeah. And this is where you just went, nope.
Yeah, that's where I noped out of this room, got this passive shard. Headed back for the save room.
Yep.
Casual murder of a dark elemental.
As you do.
So, anyway, this is where we decided to cut it, so this is where we're going to cut it again.
Yep. This is almost like kind of a weird, out-of-place epilogue for the LP, the way the commentary went.
Yeah, kind of.
Hopefully that's enjoyable for you all.
Hopefully it is enjoyable, and hopefully you enjoy the rest. Bye!
Yep. Bye.